Hello. Now I want to talk about sequencing or improvising, approaching or sequencing, and how we will play the jazz standards, how we will improvise with mentioning some of the keywords, and instead of the points and points, I want to make a storyline about this actually. And we are playing the chords, right? Because chords are the notes or the tones played at the same time. Multiple chords or multiple notes or the chords, notes or the tones, which are played at the same time. And with playing one chord at the same time comes the melody. And in the chords there is bass lines. And we are thinking in this consumption, we are thinking chord for chord and connecting the chords, and we have a progression, a series of the chords. And two from nothing, from we have just chords, which are the major or minor or diminished chord characters, chord families, which you can find in too many sources on the internet. We have chords. They are in major families or in the minor families or the diminished chord families, and etc. And derivated from this three characteristics. And we have chords, and then we are playing the melody lines. We are improvising, but not improvising anyhow. But we want to play a jazz standard, we have to know what differences it from any other improvisation and playing a jazz music standard songs, which they called. And we will using some techniques to understand the chord structures, because chords can everyone use, but the melodies and the some other detailed or specific structures in the jazz songs is having and possessing the copyrights. It's written by someone in some country and in some part of the history. But the chords and the chord sequences, the series of the chords, everyone can use them, and everyone can employ them in their musics or in their compositions or in their improvisations or in their practices, right? And in the music history, some they are not thinking like, okay, the history does not exist. There is major chord families, minor chord families, and diminished chord families. I can from that on and with the tangent or derivated a little bit exaggerated types of them, I can make my music. No, every part of every style of the connection of the different chords has its own history and own way of using the series of the individual or specific uh, chord composition of the series of the chords, which called progressions. And from the simple part to the playing a jazz standard to a jazz music player, we have to have an idea with what we are dealing, and from the composition of the material we are employing or we are using. And I mean, lots of the musicians or playing or learning people can play some chords uh, through finding the names or writing on and searching from which notes they are made of, and applying these notes or tones in their music instruments or in their vocals or in their computers. So we can make music by even sequencing the notes, not only the chords and playing the chords and playing another chord and playing another chord, and with a style, with a composition or progression art. Not only playing chord after chord, but we can also playing the notes as the sequences, as a series of the notes. We don't have to make long lines, we can make phrases, short lines, and with the very few number of the note material, we can make short lines, phrases, or the volks, so to say. And so we can play lots of notes at the same time, and we can think linearly, horizontally, and we can make lines from or solos, so they call solos, solo lines, or the note or the steps with the notes. So to understanding at a whole piece, to be dominate or suveran about this or get used to this, we could first understand the chords, and the chords has the roots. It means between the 12 tones, which are made from 8 whole notes and the 4 half notes, the white keys and the black keys on the keyboard or the piano is we have the root notes. We are choosing a note, a note center, a center for the tones we will sequencing or derivating or creating, making music with. We are choosing first the chord center, root note. Even if it's about playing one chord, we are each we should first specify the root note. I'm choosing a root note. I will play in a C major chord, for example. I'm playing the root note, the third note, the fifth note, and if it's C major 7, the seventh note. So the chords have the roots, thirds, fifths, and in the jazz music, seventh notes. And in the C major, the pool of the note materials in the C major tone center, I have only the whole notes, for example. You can find the more detailed information about the tone centers or the keys by reading, listening, and searching and typing the keywords in a search engine and a little bit researching about it. And in a chord, I have the root, the third, the fifth, and the seventh. No, this is important. These chord tones or the chord notes are important because playing the chord notes while playing a chord as a background, as a solo instrument, playing the notes, chord notes, sounds in harmony. It calls inside playing the chord notes or the scale notes in a broader meaning means inside playing, and playing the notes except the chord notes or the scale notes could mean outside playing. The diatonic notes, which are the notes at the first of and I choose as a tone material in the key the notes in the key which called the diatonic notes or the scale notes are the notes sounds usual, and the notes that are not diatonic and that they are sounding unusual. And then if I would begin to play in my solo the not diatonic tones while playing a chord, it could be some stress. It sounds some tensioned and unusual. And then I played the chord notes or the diatonic notes, then it will be sound released or the tonic or sound released in the narrowed meaning and sin. The making of the inside and outside melody passages is exactly about playing the diatonic notes and the not diatonic notes, which are also called the chromatic notes. So, if I will feel myself, if my solos sounds in general and some usual, and sometimes I'm playing unusual or intentioned notes with using not diatonic or not scale notes, the out of the scale notes. If I'm walking by soloing, if I'm walking with taking the steps, taking the diatonic steps or the chromatic steps, playing the diatonic notes or the not diatonic notes. Due to them, it sounds usual or unusual, inside and outside. So then I'm playing inside and outside, sometimes inside and outside while playing the same chord at my solo lines, while I'm sequencing, improvising or making phrases or the melody passage or the melody lines, so to say, and I'm playing inside and outside, but I wanna sequence while I keep sequencing and playing. I want to land on some safe areas, safe zones, which are the chord tones. While playing a chord, the root, the third, the fifth, and the seventh notes. These four notes between the diatonic notes or the scale notes, the first, the third, the fifth, and the seventh. I want to lend to these notes. I want to come to these notes. I want to arrive to those target notes. If I'm playing a minor seven, C minor seven, for example, such as I would want to target the minor third. I would like to land or target or arrive to the minor third, for example. Then I should play it in the weak or strong times, some different combination of the series of the notes, and while I'm improvising or sequencing or making melody passages or phrases or melody fragments, while I'm sequencing the melody fragments, I'm not playing just like a simple computer, or I'm using also some syncopated forms of the rhythm some dotted notes, not only playing the quarter notes, not on straight notes or the eighth notes. I'm playing also the dotted notes and ties, connected notes. I'm varying the rhythm, I'm varying the melodical harmonic rhythm, I'm varying the melodic rhythm, and only the beats in the jazz music. And the historic hundreds of, even lots of the styles and arts, and even the individuals changed the epochs and eras of the jazz music songs. There's too many kinds and of the different of the jazz music standard songs, which have each has the different background. So, but in the basic characteristic of the jazz music, I think I know this because I read it good from the last of in the last of years. This is the beats. Maybe you have heard this before. There's an idiom: upbeat and downbeat. What is an upbeat and downbeat? It is the some. If it would, there is some emphasized and not emphasized rhythmic elements in each measure or bar. And if it's one emphasized and the second is not emphasized in the common form, and the emphasized called upbeats, not emphasized or less emphasized called downbeats. In the swing music, for example, it is a spatial combination. The one is down and second is up, or vice versa. So there's the light beats that comes played emphasized at the strong times, or the heartbeats played less emphasized at the weak times. Oh, okay, there is another idiom: time, then beat. So there is a tempo of the music which we are playing, which means the velocity of the notes played, and there is an articulation like the staccato or etc. and so on. So, but in the common first time of the jazz, on the common, the most recognized, most well-known arts of the jazz music characteristics, jazz music standards characteristics. The most of the improvisers, jazz music players, are very into melodic rhythm, harmonic rhythm, and the harmonic rhythm. And while playing the chord sequences, there is a thema, there is the harmony, which they're playing the mostly bass and drums and piano and the solo instruments. And so an improviser or line maker, melody maker. This is an ideas. Also, a jazz musician who is spontaneously putting in line their ideas and developing them, making them up and releasing them in the slow, in the upbeats, or in the strong times or at the weak times, while the up and down beats passing by. So, and there's in the melody, there's the melodies and the fragments of the melodies. There are pieces of the melodies which they have the motives also, or not, doesn't have the motives, and which is created by for the perspective of the using the intervals. The basic idea which I'm playing my music instrument is playing the 8 whole notes after another is it C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. Down, example. And this is the basic thinking, for example, in the primary school and the younger ages or the beginner, playing first the C major scale, playing this C, D, E, F, G, A, and B, upwards and backwards, and then uh, they, and then maybe some notes longer, some notes would be played shorter, and maybe not the eight notes played in an idea, maybe three or four notes or five notes like the pentatonics employed in an idea or a group of the words. So they in the melodies like the literature, there are letters like the words like or the group of words like things which we can say the phrases. So I am not playing unconsciously, but I want to make some conscious structures while I'm sequencing or improvising. So, but well, in 1 minute, too much things I told, but I'm trying to give a general view about the tema before putting the applications and not figuring out then not figuring out what it's all about. And I want to show or demonstrate how to think or how to not think focusedly at one-sided, because there in the music there is not a formula or one way or one perspective. Especially in the jazz music, it is very diverse, as you can see in 100 jazz music standards piece, 100 different kind of perspectives and the background. So in the deal with the melody fragments, I have an idea, I have a repeating patterns, I have only the application of the basic playing of the series of the note styles without changing anything, just only the articulation employed. Now, no any variation at the melodic or harmonic rhythm and the other stuff, etc. and so on. So also it is very economic way of thinking is creating the melody fragments. So the if and for example, I would not play only with the different combinations upwards or backwards or with the different orders, the first, the third, the fifth, and the seventh while playing a chord. But I want to play out of the chord notes out of the diatonic notes, and then I will use the while I'm playing outside the chromatic notes. Also, the chromatic notes are the best music materials. The chromatics notes are one of the best music materials to approaching to a chord tone or chord note. Because of that, it is also easier to create a line with the chromatic notes because they are near each other, half step and half step, upwards and backwards with a different order. I can make a music with my instrument or voice. With the chromatic notes. With the chromatic notes, I can make easily the melody fragments or uh, melody sequences. After understanding that point, but how can I make different kind of the melody fragments, maybe from the different lengths and uh, types. Uh, one more time. Uh, Making melody lines is easy while employing the chromatic notes because they are near each other, and without thinking too much I can play the chromatic notes upwards and backwards and with different orders. But then a phrase, a piece of a melody, or which called melody fragment also, or a piece of line, I can change them even, not without producing a different or a new kind of the musical material, with what I have produced with the same music material, the piece of line, music line, I can also change it and variate it. I can mirror the music melody fragments. Or I can play from backwards to the upwards melody fragment. I can shift the melody fragment. I can transpose the melody fragment, or I can the stepwise, or where is the resolve and derivate the melody fragment. So, to arrive into a target note, which called the chord note or any diatonic chord note I will choose, I can use the diatonic steps or the chromatic steps to making melody lines or phrases. I can take take a part or piece of a series of the notes, and I can mirror it, play upwards and backwards. I can stepwise resolve them. I can shift them. I can transpose them, etc., and so on. And then, after playing a while, some of the lines I'm producing would have the characteristic and some not. The ones which possessing some specific characters or the qualities or the properties are called the motifs. Maybe they have been invented before from 100 or 1,000 people than me, or maybe not. The motif line, phrase fragment of the melodies, the motif lines, the characteristic, the phrase fragment of the melodies or of the melodies, I can take one small piece of them and I can inverse the phrase tonally or exactly. For example, I made a small line. Do ba dee da do da. In these two ba dee da do da has the chord note. It has the diatonic notes and it has the chromatic notes inside. It's the inside note and outside note. Alright, I can inverse them tonally or exactly. Tonally means using the diatonic notes, And exactly means letting which the diatonic or which the chromatic notes. Letting what diatonic is diatonic and not diatonic tones and not diatonic tones. And I can inverse the phrases tonally or exactly. I can retrograde the phrase retrogradation, the phrases sequenced backwards. I can read them from the end to the start. Upwards and downwards, right, left. Like if I would think on a note paper or stave, I can even inverse the retrograde, tonally or exactly, written from the end to the start, a phrase written from the end to the start. I can inverse them too. I can change the rhythmic variation of the line I played. For example, dee da do da do da do da, dee da do dee do da. I can rhythm variation. I can make it longer, shorter. So, but in a specifically, specifically told, I can rhythmically variate line or phrase, such like the augmentation and the diminution. I can make it longer or shorter. I can, or like I can shift the line. I can syncopate. I can tonally variate. I can transpose the lines tonally, or exactly. I can ornament the phrases. The motif became longer without changing the character through the employing the tonal and or chromatic notes. So I can ornament a line without changing the character through employing the tonal and or chromatic notes. I can add the notes in them without changing the character, and motif became longer. I can ornament a motif line phrase. I can fragment a motif line phrase, taking a piece of phrase and develop or derivate, used as another fragment of the melody. I can take a piece of a line and develop, separate it, and I can take a piece of line, separate it from the line, and from that on I can develop or derive a new fragment of the melody. I can reduce, which is called reduction. I can reduce a motif line phrase. I can simplize a motif line or phrase to its elementary pieces. I can articulate a line or a piece of line if it has a characteristic it's called motif. If it is like a group of the words, it's called phrase. I can play with changing the articulation. For example, in bebop music, they're using a specific kind of the articulation. Without knowing the articulation, you can know the notes, but would not be able to play them. I can change the phrasing, and it is like swing phrasing, straight eights like glissandi, like drops, slides, etc. So I can think, before I playing something, I can think from the perspective, the motif, and making the motifs so improvise. Motif oriented, I can improvise. Motif oriented thinking and so improvise can I. So it is actually quite complicated, but some practical uh, I would like to keep telling. Some practical tips I would like to keep telling. So I, I will play a chord with knowing the root, third, and seventh. I will play chord sequences then, and uh, uh, and then, due to my perspective or solo lines, I will improvise over these chords. For that, I should know how the notes in the chords had been changed due to the chord progression or the sequence of the or the series of the chords. I should have to figure out, and especially not the 3, 4, or 5 notes, how they change through the in the chord progression. I cannot memory all, uh, but there is a technique which called the guidelines. I can know how the third and the seventh, which make the characteristic of the chords, which gives the characteristic flavor of the chords. Uh, I can I can figure out how the third and the seventh notes of each chord had changed. Then it calls changes. If I take a jazz standard, thinking with the guide tones, making our our playing, our improvisation a little bit lighter to think, and thinking with the guide tones helps us to understand the harmonic structure and how the notes are changing from chord to chord. Uh, and the third and the seventh notes, the third notes and the seventh notes of the chords in the jazz music are the characteristic chords. And if I would play the with my root notes with my left hand on the piano, and with my right hand the thirds and the sevenths, the terz and septime, the terz and the septimes, and I have an idea about the basic layout of the harmonic structure. If I play them slow and listen them, and I can figure out the harmonic flow of the uh, changes or the chord sequences at the jazz music standard songs. So using the guideline tones and the bass is from that on is a good technique actually. And the other thing is I should also have an idea and search the detailed further readings about the voice leading rules or the Stimmführungsregeln. And it is exactly about the jazz composition, jazz theory, or the jazz harmony. So I will give some examples. For example, there is another idiom which called the line cliches. I can find the major and the minor and harmonies, some line cliches, but the line cliche, the idiom of the keyword of the line cliches, generally found at the minor chords, but could maybe found on the major chords too. They are mostly tonic chords movements. We can think them. The line movement on the root, the fifth or the seventh, not the third. It is the line cliche is a kind of the stepwise resolution, a line uh, made from the stepwise movements, but they are moves against a single chord. The line cliches adds some flavor, movement, otherwise, and break the uh, break the static chord progressions. So blind cliches we can, for example, if I would play C major 7, then C7, then C6, and C major sharp 5, it is not the typical 2-5-1 or 1-6-2-5 or etc. 1-3-6-2-5-1. It is C major 7, C7, C6, C major 7, 5. It's a line cliche. Or A minor 6, A minor 7, A minor major 7, A minor triad. I can employ them somewhere. So I let the rest to the dear watchers and listeners to research about line cliches. How can I use them, and which chord progressions and line cliches could be employed in the music you would like to create or make. So there's another idiom, important idiom, before playing a jazz standards, which I should have to have an idea, is the turnarounds. The turnarounds generally means 1-6-2-5 progression. And there is not only one kind of 1-6-2-5 progressions. As I will give some examples, there is too many kinds of the 1-6-2-5 progressions, not in the even at the same key. For example, A minor 7, D7, G minor 7 flat 5, and G flat 7, dominant 7, is a kind of the major turnaround. The turnaround and major. A minor 7 flat 5, A flat dominant 7, G dominant 7, G flat major 7 is another kind of the turnaround in major harmony. A dominant 7, A flat major 7, D flat dominant 7, G sharp diminished 7 is another kind of the turnaround. E flat 7, F sharp diminished 7, D flat major 7 is another kind of the major turnaround. Turnaround in the major. F major 7, D minor 7, G minor 7, C7 is another kind of turnarounds in the major harmony. F7 and A flat diminished 7. F7 and A flat diminished 7 is another kind of turnaround in major harmony, which had been used in the jazz music history. And F major 7, D7, G minor 7, C7, resolved to the F major 7. Resolving to the F major 7 is another kind of the turnaround in major harmony. A minor 7, D7, G minor 7, C dominant 7, resolving to the F major 7 is another kind of the turnarounds in major harmony. A minor 7 flat 5, D7, D dominant 7, G minor 7 flat 5, C7, resolving to the F major 7 is another kind. A minor 7, A flat dominant 7, G minor 7, G flat 7, resolving to the F major 7 is another kind. F dominant 7, D dominant 7, G dominant 7, C dominant 7, resolving to the F major 7 is another kind of the turnaround in major harmony. A minor 7, A flat dominant 7, G7, G flat dominant 7, resolving to the F major 7 is another kind of the turnaround in the major. E flat 7. Just listen to them. Just have an idea, general view on them. Don't notice them. You will find lots of examples from them, but just listen to them. E flat dominant 7. Imagine together. E flat dominant 7. A flat dominant 7. D flat dominant 7. G flat dominant 7. Dominant resolving to the F major 7 is another kind. F major 7. F sharp dominant 7. F sharp diminished 7. I'm sorry. F major 7. I begin with tonic. F sharp diminished 7. After F major 7, half step. F sharp dominant, F sharp diminished 7. Whole diminished. F sharp whole diminished 7. Then a half step, chromatic step. G minor 7. And then a half step 1. G sharp diminished 7. Resolving to the A minor 7. Is a turnaround in major harmony. No. And A minor 7. A flat diminished 7. G minor 7. C dominant 7. Resolving to the F major 7. Is a turnaround. F major 7. A flat major 7. D flat major 7. And then G flat major 7. Resolving to the F major 7. It's another kind of turnaround. F major 7, A flat dominant 7, D flat major 7, G flat dominant 7, resolving to the F major 7 is another example which could be given to the turnarounds in the major. And there is a major harmony and the minor harmony. Let's check out how the turnarounds and part of the jazz standards harmonic structure, the turnarounds in the minor harmony could be employed in the practice. It is in the turnarounds in the first degree minor 7, 6th degree half diminished 7, 2nd degree half diminished 7, 5th degree 5 chord. And the 5th degree is the dominant 7, 5. So let's F minor 7, D flat major 7, G flat 7, G minor 7 flat 5, C7, F minor, resolving to the F minor 7 is a turnaround in minor key, in the minor harmony. F minor 7, D flat major 7, G minor 7 flat 5, C dominant 7, resolving to the F minor 7. F minor 7, D minor 7 flat 5, G minor 7 flat 5, C dominant 7, resolving to the F minor 7. F minor 7, D7, G7, C7, F minor 7. F minor 7, A flat 7, D flat 7, G flat 7, F minor 7. F minor 7, A flat major 7, D flat major 7, G flat major 7, F minor 7. F minor 7, E flat 7, D flat 7, C7, and F minor 7. Look, there is a specific kind of the connections in them. Even if we are hearing like a radio, what's talking about, we don't know maybe, but there is some specific kind of the connection, art of the connections. So the 1 4 7 3 6 2 5 1 is one of the most common way of connecting the chords in the jazz music and the early history of the jazz music. Let's say B flat major 7, B flat dominant 7, E flat major 7, A minor 7, D7, G7, C minor 7, F7, resolving to the B flat major 7. E flat major 7, D7, G7, C7, F7, B flat 7, E flat, resolving to the E flat major 7. These are the series of the chords, which are is easy and readable and simple to see the movement of the elements of the notes of the chords and the characteristic, the common characteristic of the music. But in about for a century, mostly begin to employ. Well, we should read actually lots of the literature even about the history and the music and the culture as well and so on. So I keep give some chord progressions examples more. They are beautiful because if you would write the third and the seventh of each these course of these progressions, you will see how beautifully in harmony and good sound it will have. Just write in the bass tone the root notes and right and then the violin key, the right hand notes, the third and the seventh, and you will see how the thirds and the sevenths goes. You would be able to observe how the third and the seventh changes from chord to another. E7, B flat 7, A7, E flat 7, D7, A flat 7, G7, D flat 7, and C major 7. Resolving to the C major 7. Each example about the chord progressions I gave sounds beautiful in harmony if you play with a good music instrument or write in the computer in the various of the notation or digital audio workstation software. Hear them with a good whole tempered or good quality of the sound. They sound beautiful. F minor 7, B flat 7, E flat 7, A flat major 7, D flat major 7, G7 resolving to the C7. Just write the third and the seventh notes of each of these chords and see how the third and seventh notes of each chords change in the stave, in the music notation paper. Then, if you take a jazz standard sheet from a real book or something, then now you have an idea about what the music is. What is a jazz standard lead sheet about? There's a melody, there's a chords written on them. So in some, there's the lyrics of the songs, and the first repeat. All the orchestra or the occupation or the quartet or quintet playing exactly as without changing or varying or manipulating was on the lead sheet stays. Play exactly straight what is written on the lead sheet. Buy a real book, original, only copyrighted if you like, and take one, play or write the notes, play the chord, and first in the first repeat of the lead sheet, the jazz standard, just hear without change the chorus, the bass, the drums, exactly how they good, and the second order and the second repeat of the whole sheet, you will begin the sequencing or improvising, or due to which era you are practicing, articulated or not articulated, applying the notes, playing the chord notes, inside or outside, making lines, phrasing and motifs, etc. and so on. And then after really sew around with it and understanding the song and lead sheet, after good times, then jazz as a social music had stated the great Mr. Miles Davis. And play with the people. This is better. This is the best practice. Play with the people. Even it's beginner, even it sounds not like in the movies or in televisions or in the magazines or books. Begin simply and slowly. Play slowly and simply. I want to give you an understanding about what is it, and then if you have if you would have the first understanding, then you should not play or paint like a Picasso or something. No, no, no. Just play, just play the thirds and sevenths. Just play the melody first. The tema, the melody, the song. Sing the bass notes. Play the thirds and sevenths. Play the chord note. Then play the scale. Or you can employ pentatonics. For example, D minor, if the second level chord is there, you can play even the first level major notes, major scale. A part of the standard, let's say 4 bars, is really 2 1 3 6 1 3 6 2 5 1 chorus passing. You can play C major through the 6th or 4th bar. You can play only the whole notes, the wide tastes of the piano. So you will see the jazz standards are made for really playing together, having fun, with good tools and good stuff, and it is I think is made for bringing everyone to swing jazz. You can play only the keynotes. This is the beauty of the jazz music. It could be very complex and it could be very simple. Maybe you don't know anything. You just have an instrument and a good pulse and good listening. Only play 8 notes. Only play the white tastes. Only play the key notes, scale notes, diatonic notes in the C major scale. In the C tone center, it is the C, D, E, F, G, and A, for example. So K's tone centers you can learn, search. But with knowing only 5 or 8 notes, you can play the entire song. This is the beauty of it. With knowing only 5 or 8, 7 notes, with the self in octave and there's 8 notes, you can play the entire lead sheet of a jazz standard. This is the beauty of the jazz music, I think. I wish you all happy days and enjoyable, good working days, oh dear Miss and Mrs.